In our last live training for our RV Tech members, one of the members asked, if I was to start my business and I had $2,000 to get some initial supplies, what would I get? So I said, well, let me put that list together for you. Went through all of my stuff and looked at the main important things you want to stock so you'd be proficient out there when you're working. So let's dive into some of those things. I have a full list. You can download this from the description of this video. Now, these are the things I put into my RV Tech membership, but I get this question a lot from people on YouTube about RV Tech questions, so I'm posting this video to YouTube as well, so that way other people out there who aren't in the membership yet can see it and help them out. The first section will be RV electrical, and Eric, I'll move it this way. Got a hard little sun angle here to work with. Now, I'll go through my list, that way it follows along, easy for you. So this is some 14 gauge wire. You can get a kit like this with a couple different colors in it. 14 gauge is the most common size you'll see in RVs. These are spade terminals, insulated ones, between the red to the yellow, different sizes, male and female. You use Wago connectors for 12 volt. You can buy a little kit between different sizes, the doubles to the 5 connector ones. I pulled these out of my kit. These ones are blown away in the wind, but these are what's called closed end crimp terminals, where the wires go inside and you crimp them down. A couple different sizes I carry on those. I like things that are heat shrink. They make a better connection for RVs. So these are heat shrink ring terminals where you put the wire into it. This goes onto a stud where you use a nut to tighten it down. Along the same lines with heat shrink things, these are heat shrink butt connectors for connecting wires between different sizes. So I also have some little guys like this. These are for really small wire that works great for awning connections on those little tiny light wires. And these guys here are flag connectors. They're a 90-degree connector, so that way if it's in a tight space, the connector will fit. You'll find these a lot of times on air conditioners or water heaters. These are battery lug connectors. The kit I have linked goes from 8 gauge, which is smaller wire, up to 2 gauge. There's some bigger wires for motorhomes like 4-aught or 2-aught you'll run across occasionally, but those other ones are the common ones I run across that need to be replaced when you're there on site. And some of these guys, these are auto resettable breakers. Different sizes on these, between 20 and 50 amp. You can have a couple of those depending on which ones you want to stock, but you'll run across all of those options. Probably 50 amp is the most common on those. And for fuses, blade fuses like this are the most common. The sizes you run across are commonly between 10 and 30 amp. There's some bigger ones or smaller ones occasionally, but this is the most popular ones. You can get a whole kit, with large fuses or glass fuses. But if you had to start, I would just go with these. And for those fuses, there's inline fuse holders like this. If you had to splice in a fuse or replace a connection, this is a waterproof connection. Use heat shrink on both ends, put your fuse in the center. Now you have a fusible link. Now this is thermostat wire. You can get a 50-foot roll or a smaller roll. You'll use this occasionally. I like having this on hand for testing purposes. Having to replace this is quite rare, but having to use it as a test equipment is more popular. These are replacement shore power plug-ins, 30 amp or 50 amp. And then for power converters, you can go with aftermarket like PowerMax, which is a great option. You can also go with Wifco, which is a more name brand. Either one will work. If you want to save money on your initial stock, I would start with PowerMax. 55 amp is the most common. There's 2 different styles. There's a plug-in style or the built-in style. So built-in style is NBA, plug-in style is just a regular PM3-55. And moving on to propane and furnaces. You want a propane regulator because these are a common thing to fail. The part number is the MEGR253P. That's this guy here. Now over the furnaces, this is the most common sales switch for Suburban, the 525003. Looks like that right there. And far as fan motors, the Suburban 521230 is the most common one I run across. Now on to Dometic. Their popular sales switch is 36165. Now circuit boards that work on both Dometic or Suburban is the Dinosaur Universal Board, fan 50 plus pins. They have a 3-year warranty on these, better than the OEM. That's why I prefer those. You can stock one, cover multiple furnaces, and I think they perform better. All right, we're reset, ready for air conditioners. Starting here in the front, some foil tape. A big roll of 3-inch like this will get you by for pretty much everything. You can carry some 2-inch over time for smaller areas. This tape sticks really well, and I like it. Buy it off Amazon, of course. Now on the coil cleaner, 2 different types. The non-VOC for your inside coils and your VOC type for your outside coils or low VOC. I like the Frost King because there's a brush on top of it. Also helps you clean the AC units. Now onto parts and pieces. Coleman thermostat, a digital one or a manual one like this. I like the ones with the wire leads at the back of it right there. A lot better than this style they initially came out with that has the stab-in plugs in the back of it, because those plugs where you poke the wire into, they're very, very fragile. One, they can break, and two, they just cause a bad connection and the thermostat doesn't work over time. Coleman cool only control box. This will work with this thermostat or any of the other ones that are Coleman. For Dometic, their common thermostat is their CT thermostat. So this kit comes with the thermostat, control box, all the bolts, a free sensor. I would start with this, and if you use one of these parts, you can just order an individual thermostat or control box. That way you have a full kit again. Now, as far as other brands like Furrion or GE, their stuff changes quite a bit. I gave up trying to stock their things because it changes too much. I can't keep up with it. As far as Coleman and Dometic, they are pretty steady on their parts and pieces. Dometic has some new stuff out now that you'll probably get into that eventually, but it's not new enough that you need to stock it just yet. But one of these will get you by on most RVs, whether they're pretty new or 10, 15 years old. Now capacitors are another common thing. There's multiple sizes you could stock. I would say on the bigger capacitors, your 60, 50s, or 40s are the most common. And on the smaller ones for Coleman's, your 7.5 microfarad capacitors are your common ones for those. As you start doing things, you'll figure out what the common items are you need to stock based on the service calls that you get. So if you determine you're working a lot of air conditioners, you might get multiple capacitors or more control boxes or parts and pieces for those. And like I said, this is a starter package. Once you start going, you'll be adding some more parts and pieces and developing all of these lists. These are the few things in each area that I would stock to start with. And next on my list is RV refrigerators, the absorption style ones. And you're starting out, I wouldn't worry about getting parts and pieces for these. One, they're a little bit older and they're not as common. 12-volt fridges are more popular now. If you're trying to stock parts for the older fridges, yes, you will run across fridges that need parts from time to time, but a lot of times those older fridges, people will just replace the whole thing versus repairing them because they want to go to a different style fridge. So I wouldn't worry about that yet until you figure out what your market is. Now covering the water heater section. On Suburban, the most common things are the on-off switch, your part number 525001, or your 120 volt thermostat. These two go hand in hand, usually you're replacing both of them at one time. Now for a heating element, your Suburban standard 520900. This element will work in both Dometic and Suburban water heaters, so to stock this one, you'll be good. For your anode rods and Suburbans, there's two options, magnesium or aluminum. If you stock one or the other or both, that's up to you. For Dometic, their thermostat and ECO kit is the 91447. Also for Dometic, your Dinosaur circuit board, UIB64, that'll cover all your Dometics, kind of like your Fan 50 plus pins for your furnaces. Dometic has a 3-year warranty on those as well. Now for Dometic, you have different types of plugs. Your male thread or your female thread plugs. I do not recommend using your hardware store plugs for your water heaters because these ones, when you look at them, there's no seam in these, where a normal plug from a hardware store will have a little seam and it could split and break right there. So getting the OEM ones is a better way to take care of the customer so you don't have callback issues. Now if you add up all the things I went through on this list, it'll be pretty close to $2,000 as your retail price. As you start setting up vendors and buying things at wholesale, you won't be paying sales tax and get things at a better price. It'd be pretty close to $1,500 on all the stuff I went through on this table. Now all of these parts I went through are part of my full inventory sheet that's uploaded to the RV Tech membership, where there's tons of resources and files. If you want more information about that, I'll link to the RV Tech membership in the description of this video. And I'm uploading this video into our playlist, which is Running a Mobile RV Tech Business. If you're new at running a mobile RV Tech business or thinking about starting a mobile RV Tech business, you definitely want to check out the other videos in that playlist next.